What's up, everybody? So, listen, we're going to talk about the fight of the year for 2025 in the UFC. Historically, your boy. This is going to tell you how this is going to go here. This video is going to go. Your boy likes strikers. Historically, my favorite fighters are strikers. Peter Yan is my current favorite fighter. Anderson Silva is my all-time greatest favorite fighter. I like Pettis. I like Robbie Lawler. I like Carlos Condit. I like, I like, what's his name? I like strikers. Listen, I also like, while I like violence, I do like those technical, high level striking matchups as well. Your Darren Till versus Robert Whitaker esque, right? Like where it's a chess match on the feet, and both guys are just they're looking for that perfect shot, and the technique is perfect, and the you know what I mean. I like those too. So that should just kind of tell you how this video is gonna go. All right, so we're gonna jump right into it. The first fight, we got 6 fights we're gonna talk about. 6 fights were bangers to me this year. There's more, don't get me wrong, but these are the ones that I narrowed it down to. I got Ivo Aslan versus Iwo Baranyeski, baby. Okay. Ebo comes out like a bat out of fucking hell. Drops Iwo. I think a few seconds into the within a minute of the first round. This fight only lasted 3.5 minutes, by the way. Only 3.5 minutes. Go back and watch this fight. I'm telling you, you are missing out. If you have a friend that has never watched the UFC, then you want to get them into watching the UFC. This is the fight that you want to show them. You understand? So yeah, this was a banger, man. Banger. 100 combined strikes within the first 3.5 minutes of the fight. A fight only lasted 3.5 minutes. I will between both men there were 4 knockdowns. So just imagine, right? In 3.5 minutes, 100 significant strikes. Guys are throwing like a bat out of hell. Both guys are throwing like a bat out of hell, and and both guys just dropping each other all over the place, rocking each other. I think Ibo Aslan dropped Iwo once, but he was rocking him multiple times. I thought that Iwo was gonna go down and go out. Iwo dropped Ebo like 3 times. I'm thinking Ibo was gonna die at any minute. I'm on this roller coaster. Like emotionally, I couldn't have been more like fight, flight or fight. What flight or fight or flight. I don't know. I couldn't have been more of whatever the actual saying is though. Like I was freaking out, bro. Like I had to stop. I forgot what I was doing because I was watching it on my phone at the time, and I had to like literally like stop and just like sit down for a second. Like I was like, oh, this is crazy. You know what I mean? But that was the type of fight that you were watching. So this is number 6 for fight of the year. Wild, wild, wild fight, man. I am telling you, go back and watch if you haven't watched it. That one was a banger. Number 5, we got Marab versus Umar. Now, when you want to talk about technical, just high level fighting, Marab, 111 significant strikes, 7 takedowns. Umar, 104 significant strikes, 2 takedowns. I thought Umar won the first 2 rounds. Marab rallies back. Marab picks him up over his shoulder. Marab is emoting. Marab, you know what I'm saying? I think the emote, like Marab is a smart fighter because the showboating and the emoting and stuff like that, that helps the viewers feel like the fight is in your favor. It was a very, very close fight. This fight could have honestly went either way, to be honest. Umar got the first 2 rounds. You could tell though with Marab, he started to sense. It was kind of like okay, third round's coming. I could sense a little bit of pullback from Umar. Umar got his takedowns early, whereas Marab, he couldn't get takedowns late in the fight, and Marab sensed that. And that's when Marab kind of started doing a little showboating, and so he's very smart with when he does things, and it makes it look like, oh damn, this guy's the thing about Marab, man, and he's in a couple of fights on this on this video, and it's surprising because you wouldn't think Marab would be in multiple fights of the year contenders, but the guy he just doesn't against a guy who an Umar who's very dangerous everywhere, right? Marab knows just with his cardio, just knows how to push and push and push and push. And yeah, you might be better than him everywhere for the first 2 rounds, but what happens when you can't use proper technique in the third, fourth, and fifth? And that's what we saw in this fight, in my opinion. We saw Umar start to slow down a little bit while Marab couldn't, he just wasn't going to slow down. He wasn't going to slow down. You know what I mean? Ever. So Very, very fun fight to watch. If you really dial in, you realize that this was a very, very close fight. I give Umar the first two and Marab the last three. Okay, which is very typical for a Marab fight. Khalil Roundtree versus Yuri Prochazka comes in at number 4. This fight. I saw your arm, bro. You look like I don't care. Khalil Roundtree versus Yuri Prochazka comes in at number 4. This was, I mean, so Khalil, if Khalil had the ability to remain as dangerous in the first two rounds, in the third, fourth, and fifth of his fights, and I think this is only a 3-rounder, and Yuri finished the fight in the third round. But if Khalil had the ability to remain as dangerous in the second and in the third as he is in the first and second, because even versus Alex Pereira, he was hitting Alex with some shots. I gave him the first 2 rounds of the Alex Pereira fight, and then Alex starts to pick him apart. You know what I mean? Same thing in this Yuri fight. Yuri, and this is a typical Yuri behavior. He gets beats up. He's a very, I wouldn't say, I would like to compare him to Umar or Marab. I mean, because in a way, he's just getting beat up. The technique isn't pretty. The right, the technique isn't really traditional to what we're accustomed to seeing, right? And so, because he doesn't have the great technique, he has to rely a lot on pace and pressure, right? And that starts to crack guys in the latter parts of the fights. And the reason why that is because if you're if someone is pressing you, forcing you to throw, and be technical in the first 2 rounds, right? And they're forcing you to throw way more than you're normally accustomed to doing because they can take a beating. Marab and Yuri, right? So we're talking about Yuri right now. So Yuri, right? We know he can take a beating, um, right? We know he can take a beating early in his fights, and we've seen it time and time again, right? And so he can take a beating until he, right, starts to wear on you. So there's only so much you can throw with great accuracy and technical precision. Once that technique starts to go away a little bit, then he starts to build. That's what we saw in this Khalil Roundtree versus Yuri Prochazka fight. Khalil was beating the shit out of Yuri. I mean, beating the dog shit out of Yuri, battering him, hitting him with overhands, uppercuts, leg. I mean, the kicks. He was beating Yuri up badly. You right? And Yuri perseveres. And he you know what I'm saying? He starts to build. You saw it. And with Yuri and Marab, there's always that moment where you like sense, okay, dang, this is the shift. This is the shift. I am starting to sense that this fight is starting to change course, change side. Because it seems like they don't run out of cardio. They really don't necessarily lose cardio like that. Like they build as fights go. Yuri and Marab. They build. Except when Yuri's fighting Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira, he can't build on that. And Alex Pereira just hits too hard and has put him away in both fights. So if Yuri's not fighting Alex, if he's fighting Rat Cage, if he's fighting one of those guys, he's going to build as the fight goes. Because that's what Yuri does. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, Yuri just built in this fight and he starts taking over in the third. I thought latter part of the second, I started to see it. I started to see it because Khalil just throws so hard with everything, right? And so I started to see it in the latter parts of the second round. Once that third round started, I knew it immediately. But that's the thing about these fights. Every single strike that Yuri was taking in the first and second round, I was like, "How, bro?" I was literally sitting there like this. How, bro? How is bro alive? How is he alive? Right? And that how is bro alive lasted as long up until the third round, and then I was like, oh, okay, I see it now. Yuri's just built different. He really is just built different. Even Marab, and we're gonna talk about him again. Even when these guys are getting battered and beaten badly, I mean, yeah, this is why it's one of the in number what 4 for me. Khalil was beating Yuri so badly, right? He was beating Yuri so badly. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. I literally couldn't believe it. The beating that he was putting on Yuri, and Yuri just weathers the storm every time, and I don't understand it. Don't understand it. But that's what Yuri and Marab do, and this is why I'm Khalil Roundtree versus Yuri was number 4. I highly recommend you go back and watch this fight. If you, this is another one of those fights. You know what I mean? Your friends, or whichever friend you have that doesn't watch the UFC, they're gonna be like, "Oh my god, why? Whoa, this guy's getting beat up really bad. Oh my god!" And then out of nowhere, they're gonna be like, "Wait, whoa, whoa, whoa!" But you gotta give them the wait for it. Just wait, just wait. The fight's still going. Just wait. You know, don't leave yet. Wait, and then Yuri's gonna start mounting. Yuri's gonna start mounting, but you can't tell them who wins either, right? Yuri's gonna start mounting, and then their emotions are gonna start going crazy, and they're gonna be like, oh my god, and then when the fight's over, they're gonna be like, is this how every fight is? And then they're gonna really want to watch UFC. uh, I'm gonna get it fixed soon, guys. Don't worry. All right. So Khalil versus Yuri was number 4 on my list. The next fight is like a combination of everything that I like, right? So remember I told you I like the violence. I like seeing blood. You know what I'm saying? I like seeing people get rocked and dropped and beat up. Nicholas Mota versus Nazim Sadikov is violence personified, technical violence personified. You ever heard of the beautiful struggle, right? The beautiful struggle. It hurts so bad, or it hurts so good. This is that fight. Technically, I mean, when technicality meets violence, I actually wrote that down. When technicality meets violence, whoa, whoa, technicality meets violence, bro. So, yeah, no, this this is that fight because both men were just. I mean, the technique was perfect, on point. But both men, nobody was backing down. Both men were pressing forward. Both men were trying to hurt each other. Both men were throwing hard shots, right? This fight lasted 2 rounds. But in those 2 rounds, you know, the first round, Nicholas Mota, he starts swarming Nazim Sadikov to the point where I thought the fight was going to be over. Sadikov was literally covering up like this, covering up, like trying to survive, right? And Sadikov comes out of nowhere, survives, and starts landing, finishes the round very strong. Now, I think when you watch a fight back, you're gonna be like, okay, dang, Nicholas Mota, he gas himself out in that first round. He's probably done. Nah, bruh. The second round starts. I mean, Nicholas Mota's landing nice hard body kicks, uppercuts. Nazim Sadikar starts slicing elbows, like stepping elbows. Beautiful fight, man. Beautiful fight. Um, you know, Sadikov gets a late second round TKO, but this personally, if you're not wanting to watch a fight where it's big names like Khalil Roundtree or Umar or Marab or one of these type of fights, right? This is the fight. Nazim Sadikov versus Nicholas Mota. Technical brilliance. Violence is involved. Blood is involved. Both men were hurting each other badly, right? Landing some hard strikes where you're like, okay, at any moment. This is why Nasim Sadikov, this fight was perfect for Nazim in a way. I mean, listen, both of these men put on a show. Perfect for Nazim because Nazim, when he's dealing with somebody like a Farsi Khan, right? He needs someone that's not as unorthodox, that's relying on the technique, and that's what that was. He's like that technicality battle. He's gonna win. I mean, his technique is beautiful, but sometimes you gotta do away with that technique. Like when you fight a first, that boy's got some attributes on him, some range, some the length in his arms. He's dangerous, right? So Nazim is very, very good. Nicholas Mota showed grit and heart like you've never seen before. When he got dropped, or when Nazim showed grit and heart too, because again he got dropped. Um, you know, and when he was getting swarmed on, and then some of the shots that Nicholas Moto's eating, you gotta like give these guys credit, man. This is number 3 for me as fight of the year. What a amazing, amazing fight. Technicality makes violence. That's what makes this fight so good. Is because both of these men, while they were remaining technical, the technique was beautiful to watch. Right? They were violent, ripping shots to the body, ripping. You knew someone was gonna go down, but it wasn't because they were like. It wasn't the Ebo versus Iwa where both men were just like like Neanderthals, right? They were remaining technically sound, and they were just throwing things with perfect technique even when they ate like crazy amounts of damage already. Beautiful fight to watch, man. Beautiful fight to watch. Gotta go back and watch it if you haven't watched. Nazim Zadikov. If you want something that's not big name, Nazim Zadikov versus Nicholas Mota. One of the best fights of this year. One of the absolute best fights this year. But what comes next? Beat this fight. Piotr Jan versus Marab Devalish Wheelie 2, y'all. So listen, Peter Yan versus Marab. I thought this fight was amazing. Um, Not because it was listen. I thought listen, let me tell you something right now. Violence is what I like. I like violence a lot. There was violence in this fight. There's blood. There people were getting thrown on their head. I mean, body kicks, leg kicks. I mean, this is becoming a very interesting rivalry here. Pirion versus Marab. Both guys won in dominant fashion. Marab won the first fight in dominant fashion, and Pirion won the second fight in dominant fashion. Right. So I think that um, this fight, while Pirion, in my opinion, on damage won every round, Marab was not backing down. He was not. He was screaming like a bitch, but he was not backing down. He was right up in Jan's face the entire fight. He was trying to hurt Jan the entire fight. The only issue is Jan was hurting him. This fight was crazy, man. Because here's the thing: when you talk about an emotional roller coaster, even though Peter Yan won those first 2 rounds, he won every round in my opinion. In my opinion, but a lot of people gave him the first round. I don't think so, or the third round. I think a lot of people gave him the third round as well. Even though, in my opinion, Jan was up in the first 2 rounds. In that third round, I was still shitting bricks. In the fourth round, I was still shitting bricks. In the fifth round, I was still shitting bricks. If a fighter can do that, like Marab has the ability to make you just like sit at the edge of your seat, right? He was still throwing. He was still, well, yeah, sure. A lot of those were landing on the glove, and Jan was rolling with all those punches. I mean, he still was able, after getting busted up in the first round, he still was able to pick Jan up over his shoulder, right? And throw Jan to the ground. He was still able to press Jan, even when Jan started taking over in the fourth and fifth. Marab was still pushing forward, never backing up, not one time. Ever did he back up and say, listen, all right, I'm gonna give this fight to Jan. No, he never did it. He never did it. Jan or Marab kept coming. He said it was almost like Marab was like, "All right, bitch, you don't get this one, but you won't see me again. You won't see my ass again." Type shit. Like it was almost like Marab like was talking to him without talking to him. Like yo, bro, yeah, we gonna all right. I fucked you up in the first fight. Yeah, you getting me in the second fight. Yeah, okay, that's okay, okay, but just know. Yeah, you hurting me, but I'm right here. I'm right here. Like it was like that, bro. Like you ever fighting your boy and y'all like really kind of going at it, really low key, y'all really going at it, but then it's like you don't want to hurt him, but it's like, yeah, nigga, like you know what I'm saying? I'm here, bro. Like you know what I mean? Like it's one of those, bro. Like where even though they were trying to hurt each other, but it was very very good fight. Very good foot fight. One of the best performances by a challenger in history. Jan, this was such a good performance by Jan. It has to be mentioned here. It has to be mentioned here. And the fact that Jan put on the showing that he did, and Marab was able to kind of continue. Peter Yan picked Marab up and threw him on his head. Peter Yan landed, busted Marab's nose up in the very first round. Was landing hard shots. You understand what I'm saying? And despite all of that, Marab kept coming forward, kept making you think, okay, well, shit, at any moment, this guy might, I don't know, he may get a submission like he did versus O'Malley. He may hurt Jan like he did versus Corey. So, like, for me, it was this constant, like, dang, this guy isn't going away, bro. What the hell is it going to take? That is why this fight's number 2. Fighter of the year over the other fights. That's why it's number 2. Great performance by Jan. Never say quit attitude by Marab. Makes this fight number 2. On to the fight of the year. What could that be? What could that be? To no surprise, Brandon Royval versus Joshua Van, the current flyweight champ, and Joshua Van. Fight of the year, man. Listen to me. In 3 rounds, they threw 400 and 25 significant strikes. Significant strikes. Guys, I don't know. This was an action-packed fight from start to finish. This fight was very close from start to finish. You had no idea who was gonna win. You had no. If Josh Van doesn't drop Brandon Royval at the last 30 seconds, this could have easily been a draw. Easily been a draw. What this was Brandon Royval's volume versus Joshua Van's like he was landing the more devastating shots. Like he was. But the volume of Roy, this is one of the rare cases where the volume of Royval literally made me want to say that he won the fight. Like literally. Like that's how much volume he threw. Let me see how much total strikes this guy threw here. He threw, let me see here. So yeah, but how many did he throw though? He landed 216. How many did he attempted? So the volume was crazy. Let me just look real quick. My bad, guys. I gotta look at how many she threw. I know how much she attempted, but with that, until we get there, right? Yeah. So this fight again, back and forth. It was back and forth. Nobody let up off the. Both guys were pushing forward. How many strikes did Brandon Royval throw in his fight versus Joshua Van? So let's see. He 416 in 3 rounds. Yeah. Both guys landed over 200 significant strikes. Okay, so Joshua Fan attempted 305. Brendan Royval attempted 467. So what this was Royval's volume, even though he didn't land nearly as much, versus Joshua Van's precision. Joshua Van was landing the more devastating shots. Obviously, he dropped Royval in the last second of the fight. What a freaking way to end this fight, man. Because again, listen, I think that the pressure and pace that Royval started to put onto Van, even though like Joshua Van was landing a lot of a lot more precise, a lot more like a lot harder shots. You could tell it was doing a little more damage. Like when he landed, you could tell it would stumble Royval a little bit this way more. It would stumble Royval a little bit that way more. You know what I mean? It would stop him in his tracks a little bit more. Joshua Van. While Royval was just bing, 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 landing. Like, you know what I mean? And even if he wasn't landing, he was working him. And you could start to see, as the fight went on, you started to see that was kind of like getting to Van a little bit. And so, for me, up until Royval got dropped, I had Royval winning the fight. I had Royval winning the fight. But once Van dropped him, that's when I was like, okay, yeah. Now we got to give that to Van. Very close fight. Very entertaining fight. War, man. Back and forth. Both guys landed great shots. Even though Royval, like I said, landed more volume, he did land some good shots. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit here and cap. He landed some good shots. It was a good fight. And that is my fight of the year, man. Brandon Royval versus Joshua Van. All of these fights were amazing to watch. I mean, as I'm thinking about it now, you probably, maybe you have the Khalil Roundtree and Yuri above the Nazim Sadikov, or even maybe you push Peter Yan versus Marab 2 down a little bit. But I don't think any of these fights were better than the Brandon Royval versus Joshua Van. This is just my order. Love to hear what you guys think. Please let me know in the comments. Please let me know what you think. If I'm wrong, if you think I'm right, if you think I'm way off, let me know. Let me know. You know what I'm saying? It's your boy. Like, comment, share, bell icon, subscribe. You know how I go. All the above. Until next time.